Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. So excited today. I've got singer-songwriter Emma Driver with me. So welcome, Emma.
Hello. So good to be here.
I have to tell you, I've been listening to your music. Your voice is, it's unbelievable. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
You've got one of those voices that immediately, as soon as you hear it, it brings up emotions. Like you feel it right here.
Wow, that's a huge compliment. That really means a lot to me. I feel like I do really feel a lot whenever I perform. I definitely put a lot of myself in it. So I'm glad that translates.
It does. You can feel that. And I think that's the truth. Whatever, with creative people especially, whatever they put their passion into, you can tell. Because it's not just, they're not just going through the motions. You're putting a part of yourself into your work.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So let's start this way, Emma. Tell me a little bit about what got you into music. Because obviously that's not an easy kind of thing to go into. So what got you interested in that?
Yeah, so the first time I ever was really exposed to music was I took violin when I was in first grade, and I had this really kind of hard-ass violin
seems like
teacher.
A weird choice for a first.
It's so interesting, like the trajectory, truly, because I've been in so many different ensembles, choirs, musicals even, and really, like, I felt like I came into my own as a musician when I wrote my own music. And as a young kid, I would always process like how I was feeling whenever I got in fights with my friends with like writing poems. So
I
like
was going to ask you if you wrote poetry. I almost would have guessed that you would have. Yeah,
yes,
it makes
definitely
sense.
a lot of poetry. And so that was a big way of processing. And then the musical element was just another kind of way to explore that. And like I was saying, like I really do feel things in a really powerful way through music. And I often think about that Bob Marley quote, like, music, when it hits you, you feel no pain. Like there's definitely, like, I have had like a large escapist mentality throughout my life, so it's been hard for me to kind of like really let myself feel those feelings without trying to run away from them immediately. And especially like when I got cancer, the music was really a place for me to go and process that emotion. So really, I mean, I first got into music as a kid to like process how I was feeling, and really loved how I felt when I was playing music. And yeah, like I said, I performed in all different kinds of choirs, from jazz bands to church choirs to musicals, and then just really felt like most myself when I was writing and creating my own stuff, because that's how I could really, really completely, kind of surrender to it.
Yeah. Oh, and that makes sense. Do you still play the violin?
I don't. I wish I did. I wish I'd kept it up. I'm sorry to my instructor Carmeet from first grade. I'm sorry that I just play guitar and piano now.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad.
It's not too bad. I get by.
That maybe no devil went down to Georgia for you, but everything else still open.
That would have been such a cool flex, though. Like if I could have kept up, they really would have.
I kind of like to hear that in your voice. I think that would be pretty great.
It'd be fun.
If you want to, get the violin out and dust it off.
Right. It's like so small because it's one of those like kids violins.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've got one at the house. My stepchildren are very musical, and they're those types that play everything. So at some point they wanted to try a violin. So
Right.
we got one. Neither one of them's playing it currently, so it's there. So if you need
I
one,
love that. Good to know. I'll give you a ring.
You need a backup. It's also very small though.
Maybe Lily could play it.
So if I remember reading right, you were performing under a different name for a while, but now you're going with Emma. What were you performing under, and why did it change?
Yeah, so really like the last 2 years of my life have been a really intense evolution. So my last project was called Fresh Lady, and
I
it
like
was
that.
I like it too. And I'm really proud of the work that I did with that project. I felt like for a long time, I felt like I had to have a separation between like the music that I was releasing and my own personality and my own
Right.
personal life, as like kind of a safety net to not put too much of my own self-worth into my music.
Yeah.
Like, and if it wasn't received the way that I wanted to, I felt like I would feel like inadequate in so many ways. So I was trying to protect myself from that. And
Yeah, it
and
kind
it
of makes
worked.
sense. I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, you could kind of hide behind it a little bit.
Yeah, it did definitely work for a while. And I was in a relationship for about 5 years. Me and my ex worked on a lot of music together. And by the end of our relationship, it was very much like a project that we worked on together. And I
Oh,
felt
that's
like
hard.
it was really hard. It was definitely really hard. Especially like, ultimately having to leave the relationship and really for wanting to work on myself in ways that I felt like weren't mutual, so that it was
Yeah.
really painful and difficult to kind of uncouple from that when we'd work together business wise, we'd work together on this music. And then 6 months after I'd moved out, I ended up getting cancer. So it was really a
Awful.
huge, like I was growing so much, like being like, okay, I'm just turned 27 and now I'm single again. I have my own apartment. I'm living in Nashville and I'm ready to like get back to working on my own music. And I was writing a lot and processing all this information
Yeah.
from the breakup and learning these things about myself. And with my last project, like Fresh Lady, the message behind it was very much like joyful and owning your like loving yourself through all of this and like just very like happy and
Yeah.
bubbly, and I wasn't feeling any of that at all. It didn't feel authentic, and
How
it didn't
could
feel
you?
like, yeah, exactly, it didn't feel like what I needed to say at that point in my life could be said with Fresh Lady.
Yeah.
And when I got cancer, I spent a lot of time with myself and really, looking inward and coming to terms with like who I really was in grappling with like my own mortality basically.
Sure.
And I just felt this really, really, really strong urge to be seen authentically and to really like just no holds barred, just like be like, this is who I am and I'm gonna not be ashamed of it and be fucking alive because
Yeah.
I am, and that's such a gift, and it sounds intense, like it almost sounds like a little
No, but it
corny,
makes sense though, right?
but
Because
it
if
does
you're
just
faced
heighten.
with the possibility that you may not be here any longer, it kind of puts everything in perspective. So you're like, why am I worried about what anybody else thinks? I need to do what, makes me feel good.
Exactly. So I definitely felt like Fresh Lady, I might revisit it. I might release some different music under that
Yeah.
project later on, but I really needed to do something new, do something that was entirely me, and the music that I'd been working on that wasn't just like happy or, hopeful. Like it definitely, like I really got into the muck and was thinking like, what am I most ashamed of? What is the most vulnerable that I can possibly go, because that's where I felt like I learned the most and like harvested the most beneficial material, was from really taking a good look.
So was it difficult to put that out there, or was it cathartic, bittersweet? How did it feel to start putting that music out?
It definitely felt cathartic. To be honest, like Try Hard, which is the first song from the project, when I first wrote that song, it was extremely vulnerable and I was totally ashamed of it and didn't release it for a really long time for that reason. It felt really vulnerable to admit that I care so much what other people think, that I cared so much that I was letting it dictate some of my internal landscape. Like that is, I still even saying that, am a little bit ashamed of it, but I've learned to accept that part of myself and understand that it's natural to want to be liked, you know, like I am a performer, like of course I want people to enjoy my music and I want to share that with people, you know, and so in releasing this and going through this process of finally, you know, letting people see it and being authentic, it has been extremely cathartic and allowed me to like accept myself in this really beautiful way.
Yeah.
And I've been telling people, you know, when they tell me that they love the song and they relate to it so much, I'm like, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that other people relate to it. And like in the chorus where I'm literally like, tell me that I'm not alone. Like releasing this song was so selfish in that way. At the end of the day, like I really just wanted to release this song and like have people be like, yeah, like I totally relate. You're not crazy. And it thankfully has been that. That was really a huge part of the motivation of releasing it, to be
Well,
honest.
you're not crazy because I connected with it as well, and Try Hard, it came out on the 4th of this month, so was that
Mhm.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
But I connected with it because I have a lot of those same feelings. You know, I go through this. You know, I'm a social media presence. You know, with the podcast,
Mhm.
but you go through some of that. You want the approval, the eyes on your project, the likes, all of that stuff. But then you feel a little bit guilty about it. You know, it's like
Right.
this, you know, maybe that's not how you should be. So you're walking that line a little bit, you know, of what's too much, what's not enough. And I don't know, it spoke to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it definitely, I feel like throughout my life, like I've always had something to say, but I struggle with giving myself permission to say it, you know? And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, obviously I wouldn't, I'm grateful for the experience that, you know, going through getting cancer gave me. Obviously, I wouldn't want to go through it again, wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
No, no.
But, you know, part of growing and healing trauma is being able to look back on these past, you know, traumas with, you know, taking the lesson from it. And really the lesson, part of the lesson that I tried to take from it was, you know, let yourself be yourself. You know, you don't, you just have this one precious life and you're doing your best. Like I do have good intentions most of the time, you know, so I really wanted to let myself give myself the gift of being seen and being vulnerable and realizing that people aren't going to hate me for admitting the things I'm ashamed of. It's really nice. Love that.
Are you healthy now?
In remission now. We love that.
Congratulations. That's great
Yes. Thank
news.
you. Thank you. It is really good. Yeah. Really,
Yeah.
really extremely grateful. My doctor, Dr. Reddy at Vanderbilt in Nashville, she's a real one.
Well, you need that, especially with cancer. You want somebody good.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I really lucked out. I had like even like my primary care doctor when we first found it, like took it really, really seriously. And I've heard people who, you know, it was a months long diagnosis process, you know,
Yeah.
especially like women, queer people aren't always you know, they're not really believed sometimes when they go in talking about like their
Yeah.
symptoms and stuff. But I had a really, really great doctor who immediately, you know, took it really seriously and got me
Why
the
do
help
you
I
think that is that they're not believed? Is it the thought that um yeah, to me, I could see where maybe they're not taking you seriously. They're maybe a little over dramatic, that type of thing. Is what was the thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely like with women there is like, you know,
Yeah.
I've heard like in instances of like, you know, women having endometriosis, which is like a thing that causes really terrible cramps,
Right.
even outside of your menstrual cycle. And like, you know, sometimes women will come in and complain about these period cramps and will just get written off and it's like, oh well, that's just period cramps, you know. But
Yeah.
now it's coming to light that there's really like almost like an epidemic for this, you know,
Oh, it's
condition,
awful. Yeah,
endometriosis.
just about every woman you talk to suffers with that.
Yeah, so
Unless they've
it's
had a
such a common
hysterectomy,
thing.
then maybe they don't. But
Hmm.
that's kind of extreme to have to go through
Yeah.
a major surgery just to alleviate that. I mean, it's and you're right. Women probably suffer more than men do as far as from that, because it's everybody just kind of be like, it's just period pains. What do you
Yeah, and like
complain about? Everybody goes through that. But if you're miserable and you can't function, then that's something that needs to be taken serious.
but this is what's crazy because so with I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type
Yeah,
of
yeah,
cancer of the lymph nodes. So I had like swollen lymph nodes in my collarbone. but literally no other symptoms. Like I'd lost a little bit of weight, that I felt completely fine. I was going to the gym 3 times a week. The only thing was I had these nodes that they were like the size of grapes, and then they were the size of golf balls. And I was like, well, this is weird,
Yeah, that's
but
not
I
right.
hadn't had any other symptoms. So, yeah. So when I went in, apparently having swollen lymph nodes could be the symptom of mono. So they tested me for mono, but then it wasn't that. And then immediately my doctor was like, okay, well, we need to go get these scanned immediately. So yeah, I think that was, from what's crazy being a social media presence and like, being involved in social media while this was going on was like, diving into the content of other cancer survivors and seeing this whole community of people, educating themselves on how to, get their screenings and make sure, that they're because I'd never even thought of that. I'd never thought of lymphoma in my life, except for one person I knew who had it. Like it was
Why
so
would you?
far, exactly. It was so far beyond my wheelhouse. But now that it was nice to know that there was a whole community there, and that I'm not alone, once again, that there were people that had survived it, and it was really helpful to have that throughout the treatments.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's
Yeah.
terrific. So then the song comes out, Try Hard. It came out 2 weeks ago. What's the
Mhm.
plan going forward? Is it to release more singles? Are you working on an EP or an album?
Yeah, so I have an EP that I'm working on right now, and it's called Ashamed to Admit This, and pulling the thread of like
I was
of
gonna
all these
say that
things.
sounds right.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Try Hard is the first song of that. The second song is coming out in October, and it's called I Don't Hate It, It's Just Different. And that's kind of about the breakup, and processing that and realizing that, for so long I thought that I would hate my life without this person, and that's why I wanted to, work on the relationship and stay in the relationship, and then ultimately outside of it you realize I don't hate it, it's just different than what I anticipated, and kind of grieving the vision that you had to be with this person, but then it's just different.
Well, that's why, they say breakups, it's like, suffering through somebody passing away. It's the same type of grief.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's,
and it was
it
really,
takes a while to work your way through that. Even if you were the one that ended the relationship, you still may have to work through the feelings, And I'm
yeah,
not saying you were, but it just either way, it's hard.
it really was. It was definitely an extremely difficult process. And also, like, as someone who's always had self-worth issues, like that's part of the reason why, why I care so much what other people think, is because sometimes I don't think very highly of myself.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
another part of the learning process, was like, just because it didn't work out with this person doesn't mean that I'm not worthy, that I
That's
did
right.
something wrong, that, that there's something inherently wrong with me. It's just that sometimes things don't work out, but there definitely was a lot of grieving, going on with it. And especially, like, I'm a very dramatic person, and I love visuals, and I have a really a strong imagination. So, part of the song is like, it feels very cinematic to me,
Yeah.
because it's like, I had this like movie picture ending of what, my happy ending with this person. And it's just realizing that, plot twist, the movie ends very differently than you had thought, but it's
So the
cool.
question is, are you playing yourself in the video, or are you going to get actors to play your?
I'm doing myself. I'm like,
Are you doing a story type of video, or is it you singing?
it's going to be more me singing. So I'm working, one of my friends who I've worked with a lot is helping me with a video. Her name's Athena Kolb, incredible photographer, videographer, cinematographer in town.
Yeah.
And we also worked a lot together with Fresh Lady. So we go way back.
Okay.
And
Okay. You got to have those people you can trust.
exactly. But so my family still lives in New York. I spent a lot of time in New York City. And one of the lines from the chorus is, "We're not growing old in Brooklyn," because me and my ex would always talk about how we were going to grow old together in Brooklyn.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's not our story to tell ultimately. So we did the video shoot in Brooklyn Bridge Park, which has this beautiful view of the Manhattan skyline and like the Brooklyn Bridge in the back. So just this like idea of me very pensively, singing through this song, because it is like the whole concept of the song is me really looking back and realizing why the relationship had to end, why it can't be this, movie picture ending that I had to have, and, realizing that it's actually way bigger than this, and it's gonna be different, but that's gonna be good, you know? So it definitely, it's less of like the story of the relationship and more like the story of me really thinking about that and realizing that this is the way that the movie's gonna end now. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be me in like multiple places in New York, very like recognizable for New York. So that's the idea behind
Yeah, that's
the
pretty great.
visuals for it.
That's pretty great. Did you grow up in New York?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn.
I thought so. I thought
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I thought I remember when I was looking over the stuff that you'd spent time there, so I assumed that
Yeah, but I've lived in Nashville 10 years now,
it goes
which
by
is,
fast.
it really did. I went to college here and then stuck around for college and for, you know, the music and my relationship with this person. So it's really crazy to be realizing it's been 10 years. Insane.
Yeah, I know.
Flies.
I know. It's so weird. And the older you get, the faster time goes. Unless you have like a
It's so true.
pandemic where you're locked up inside for a while, then it goes a little slow.
That was such a wild time.
I mean, hopefully we'll never go through that again, but most of us didn't take advantage of it like we should have because we kept thinking it was going to end.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely relate to that. Yeah.
Like the first couple of weeks, not being allowed to do anything was kind of great.
It was great. Totally
Yeah.
great.
But after a few months, you're like, okay, I'm out of stuff to do.
Right. Exactly. No, I definitely
I can't
felt
just
that.
keep eating.
Yeah. There was so much eating. Oh my God. Yeah. There was one point where I was making like a cake a day.
Yeah.
It was a lot of eating my feelings going on during the pandemic. Had
Same.
to lean on something.
I didn't need much of an excuse just to eat, but
Mm-mm.
I took every one that I could. At some, I tried. We tried okay, we're locked down, but we could still go to the gym, and then the gym was
Right.
closed. So I was like,
Mhm.
all right, I'll go to the park. I'll run at the park, and then the park's closed. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, you couldn't buy any exercise equipment; it was all sold out. I was like,
Mhm.
all right, I'm getting fat.
I'm just gonna be a little Pooh Bear for a while, you know? Or
I'm
just
like, I'm at least going to enjoy the food while I'm eating it.
yeah, that was we had a similar mindset when it came to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other songs on the EP, are they all along the same theme? Does the EP sounds like it tells kind of a story, because they're all connected.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think it's not so much that it's like a story and it's all connected, but it is all pulling on that thread of like the things that I'm ashamed to admit. And it does like really explore, everything from like my perception of myself to my, understandings of my relationships with other people. And ultimately like how I want to grow and like the things that I want to heal. But really the main, like I said, the main part of the main thing that I wanted to do with releasing this was, being vulnerable and being my authentic self and really, giving that gift to myself, but hopefully also, inspiring other people to maybe not be so ashamed of the things that they might be ashamed of too, because I do think that, with cancer survivors, call it a bit of a second chance, like getting, because I was lucky enough to have the kind of cancer that I can be in remission from, but so many
Right.
people don't have that. And when I look back on my life before I ever had cancer, I think of like, okay, what really held me back? And really, I think a lot of it was shame that I felt about things that were completely fucking normal.
Yeah,
Like
that's
shame.
right. That's right. And that happens to a lot of us.
Exactly.
At least at some point you realized it. And now
Right.
you can push back against it a little bit.
Right. And yeah, and it's still a struggle, even after everything, and everything that I have overcome. And I think about this all the time, I'm like, I get so frustrated with myself because I'm like, I literally fucking beat cancer. Like, I'm like, why am I over here like worried about something stupid, but it's like, because I am who I am, and like, it's no matter what you've been through, like, if you struggle with something, you can struggle with it, but
Yeah, that's okay.
beating myself up about it wasn't doing myself any favors, so I had to learn to kind of like be compassionate towards that part of myself. So
I've always heard, I'm not very artistic myself, but I've always heard that you can't be your best artistic self unless you have suffered some tragedy. Is
hmm.
that true? Because you've been through some stuff.
I always think of it like, because Sometimes I feel like I can romanticize pain, and that's gotten me into a little bit of trouble, especially when it comes to like relationships and stuff. Like people will
Yeah.
like do it for the plot or whatever, you know? And
Right.
like oftentimes doing it for the plot is just like making sure you get traumatized, you know, and like going for the wrong person. So the way that I try and look at it is that like every painful experience that I have, I really try and make something beautiful from it, you know, and that's how I approach art is like, how can I like alchemize this pain into something that I don't hate? You know, into
Yeah.
something that, because like, you know, when I get hurt, when somebody makes me really angry or upset, you know, I'll either hate them or I'll hate myself for feeling like I made them treat me that way, you know, or did something. Literally, how does this make sense? But those are real things that I feel, you know, and if I'm able to then take those feelings and like, for example, like getting rejected, like I wrote a song about like, you know, somebody who I wanted to be in a relationship with didn't want to be in a relationship with me.
Right.
And like ultimately, like I didn't love the way I handled that situation because I felt like I kept kind of trying to like convince them or like not accepting that it was just like I
Wasn't
can't
the
beg
right
someone to
person.
love me, you know? And I really like from that pain tried to like write a song that was beautiful, you know? And like and that's the thing that I think is like the real magic is like the trauma and the pain that people can heal through music. Like the worst thing ever can happen to someone. And then they can write a song. They can process how that feels and create something that can then not only heal them, but also inspire other people and help other people heal. Like that is real magic to me. Like I don't understand how someone can say like that's not literal magic because it's so beautiful, you know, to take something painful and grow from it. It's just such an incredible human experience that I love
What a
so much.
great thought. Yeah, I love that. That's yeah. Yeah, good for you. That's really that's really good.
Thank you.
Do you plan to tour at all?
I do plan to tour. Right now, I'm working on having my first full band show in
Oh,
a minute. A
yeah.
first full band show since
How many
cancer. Yeah,
people is
so that's
that
great.
for a full band?
It's gonna be a drummer, a keys player, and a guitar player, and a bass player as well. So four.
Oh, that's pretty good. Plus you. So that will
Okay.
you also be playing guitar or anything?
No, I like to jump around
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have a crazy dance party on stage. So I'll leave the playing to
See
the
that if I had like thinking about it, I was like, no, she probably don't want to be tied down with an instrument. You seem like you got a lot of energy on stage.
definitely want to dance it out. Maybe for one song. There's one song that could be a good just me on guitar, but we'll see
Yeah.
if it fits in the
Well, you
set.
got to have that acoustic. You know, you have to have that one. If you find yourself in a coffee shop, you can sit down and play.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, Nashville, I mean, we love an acoustic guitar, just four
True.
chords in the moment, you know? We love that.
Have you thought about going back and looking at the poetry you used to write and trying to find something there?
Definitely. I keep all my old notebooks.
Oh, I love
I
that.
have them like literally right over there. I definitely do. And there's a lot to be mined there. You know, like there is a lot. Sometimes I honestly like get nervous to look back on my old journals because I'm worried that like I'll reread it and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm literally still fucking dealing with this. Like, you know, it's like because I've noticed that about like my problems is like sometimes I'll think that I've like healed something and
Yeah.
then it'll like come back later on just in a new form and I'm like, oh, there you are again, you know? And
Thought
so
I got rid of you.
right. Sometimes I feel reluctant to go backwards in that way,
Yeah.
but I definitely think that when I get older, I could totally see myself going back and I think that recently too, I've been really into this idea of, you know, giving my inner child what she wants. And I think that there might be some clues into what that is
Oh,
in
yeah.
my past poetry. So it's definitely worth. I'm glad that I kept all my journals. That I'm really happy about.
Yeah, that's smart because most of us
Mhm.
don't. You know,
Yeah.
if we take the time to actually journal, we never keep them, or you end up losing them over time or something. That's smart because you never know. Maybe there's something there too. You might want to release a poetry book at some point.
It could be fun. I totally don't rule that out. I totally don't.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Who who inspires you musically? Who do you listen to?
Yeah, I listen to so many different kinds of music, but I really love pop. Like I've been really loving Del Watergap, Billie Eilish's new album, Sabrina
Oh,
Carpenter's new album. Olivia Rodrigo, first album was a huge inspiration for Try Hard and the production behind Try
I was going to
Hard.
say it kind of. I got a few vibes of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love her music. And also the producers who produced it in New York, Joey Wunsch and Al Von Statz, are really extremely talented. And there was a lot of, some pop punk
Yeah.
inspiration as well, like, Paramore. And there was this one song by a band called Honey Revenge, that we were inspired by a lot. And also Hallie is a producer in Nashville who's also an incredible pop punk producer who helped co-produce the song with my friend Nick Lascano as well. So there was a lot of influence in the pop realm and in pop punk as well.
Yeah, that's pretty great. I got to see Paramore. We went to Austin City Limits Music Festival a couple different times, but they were there, and
So
that was
good.
awesome. I go see Billie Eilish next month. I'm pretty excited about that one too.
Oh my God,
I
that's
know.
gonna be a great show.
That's the nice thing when you're, when your wife has been with Live Nation, she's been with them for 25 years. I see,
Oh
like
yes.
if we go to shows, we got pretty good seats. They're not bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I've
Love
got that. So
that.
Billie Eilish, that was kind of we take turns picking. That was her pick. I picked Shakira, so we're gonna go see her in November. So
Fun.
yeah,
That's
we
awesome.
did Green Day a few weeks ago. I wasn't a huge Green Day fan. My wife is.
Hmm.
They were Smashing Pumpkins, but live, unbelievable. They were so
I
good.
bet. Yeah, they're great. They're totally great.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, that's a pretty good list you put out
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I mean, it's totally inexhaustible, the list. But those are some ones that are on my mind. I also love Jessie Murph. I've been loving her new album. Talk
Oh,
about talk about emotion. She has this one song called Hurt, where I Hope It Hurts, I think. And like that song, like I can't listen to it without having like a
I'm so
visceral
glad you
emotional
brought that up.
reaction.
Didn't they have her on I think the MTV Awards. They
Oh,
had her
wow.
as like she was on the Dorito stage and she sang two or three of her, not the whole song, but just parts of the songs. I didn't realize who she was. Her voice, wow,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
I was
she's
a
so
fan
small.
instantly. I was like, yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, I'm a big fan of yours. I love your voice, and I think it's a matter of time. We're going to talk again at some point down the road. You're going to be much bigger. You're going to just. I think when people really,
Looking forward to it.
yeah, when they start hearing your voice and just interacting with you, because I think personality wise, pretty terrific.
Thank
Uh,
you. It's so
they're
sweet.
going to be fans. It's. Uh, some of the best music I've heard. That's
Oh
I
my gosh.
and listen, I'm not musical, so take it with a grain of salt. But it's something with the there's a little bit of tremor, I think, with your voice, just a
Mhm.
little, and that's what got me. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
it,
Thank you
it
so much,
it's unique.
Michael.
It sets you apart a little bit.
That means a lot. It
Yeah,
really, really does.
yeah. Well, Emma, open invitation. When you get something new coming out, please come back. This has
I
been
definitely will.
terrific.
I
So
would love
Try
that.
Hard is out now. The album or the EP is Ashamed to Admit This, and that'll be
Hmm.
out next few
Spring of
months.
2025.
Oh, spring, because we're going to
Hmm.
do releases of the singles, right?
Yes, we
Yeah.
got some time.
What's
Hmm.
the one coming out next month?
That one's called I Don't Hate It. It's just
Oh,
different.
that's right. I like that.
Long title, but we're
Yeah,
getting her
but
to
it tells
clarify.
you exactly what it's about.
Yeah, we're going right for it.
So before I let you go, Emma, go through your social media.
Yeah, so I'm Emma Driver Music on both Instagram and TikTok, and just Emma Driver on Facebook if you want to give me a follow there. I'm probably most active on Instagram, so that's where to get all the good stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Website yet?
No, no website yet, just
Okay,
just on the
we
socials
got
for
to work
now.
on that.
I know, I got to work on that. I got to get on it for real. You're right.
No, you got to get somebody. Website is terrible to put together. Let somebody else do that.
Yeah,
Get you a person.
that's smart. Good call.
All right, Emma, hold on one second. Listen, you guys that watch the show know that I don't bring people on the show unless I'm a fan. That's the reason we started this podcast. My son and I, we wanted to talk to people that we love. And the moment it took about 10 seconds of listening to Emma sing, I love her voice. Please go find Try Hard. It's out now. You're going to love it. The album is ashamed to admit this, and there's songs that are going to be coming up. And I keep saying album. It's an EP. I'm old. I'm sure at some point she'll release an album so that you can have the the LP. But it's an EP. It's going to be terrific. Please check that out. Please support Emma. She's definitely worth your support. I mean, what a great personality. Just a talented individual. So please give her your support. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. I'm so happy that you're here. Part of the reason that I think Emma connected, that her story connected with me so much. Those of you that watch, that I recently got diagnosed with Parkinson's, so I'm dealing with the what comes with that. They put me on medicine last week. It's helping. I'm doing so much better. I was dealing a lot with my face, getting kind of masky. It was tightening up on me. It was really bugging me. That's been improved. I'm hoping for more improvement, but it's feeling more like myself. So Emma's story kind of it touched me a little bit that way, made me connect a little bit. So not too bad. I got off track, but if you're finding us for the first time, thank you for watching, for listening. If you would like to support us, it's real easy to do, and we don't ask you for any money. It's all free. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps us out. Our website is meistercon.com. We've got 842 episodes and counting, audio and video versions on there. So if we're doing anything in studio, if we're covering a convention, if we're going on location, anything we have going on, if we're going to a Emma Driver concert, it'll be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, named us a top 100 podcast. I can't believe it. I think it's due to the wonderful guests that we have on the program. It's not the ding dong, moderator that you're forced to deal with so that you can see these terrific guests. But we're on there, imdb.com. Look up the Two Opinionated podcast. Also free, but just that traffic on the page also helps us out. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.